Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in this evening. I know everybody has had a lot going on lately, and I just want to say thank you for sacrificing the time to join me this evening for my very first live webinar, More Than an Employee, 7 Ways to Become a Successful Entrepreneur. I'm so excited. There's so much information. There's so many things that I want to provide for you tonight. I know lately, with everything going on in society and the economy, we can all use some positivity. So I'm looking forward to it. I just feel led, basically, to help everybody and provide this information, because I know that there hasn't been that much positive leadership. Um, that's something that we really need right now. And I just want to be able to help as many people as I can because I know everybody needs to be able to be successful and be able to provide for their families and be able to, pay bills and pay rent or pay their mortgage. And I'm just excited to be able to serve you all tonight. And yeah, so let's get it going. And if you would like, provide your name, provide your background, where what experience you have, whether that's information technology, whether that's education, whether that's broadcasting or podcasting. Feel free to provide your name and your background, and also provide your location. So I'll go ahead and start it off. Of course, myself, Andrew Scott, executive coaching, and I'm currently in Houston, Texas area. So yeah, so if you would like to provide your name, I can shout you out throughout the live stream. Uh, Provide your name, your background, and your location. I know there are a lot of people who signed up from all over the country, all over the United States, and some from even from overseas, internationally. So I know the Thursday night football is coming on later, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. So we're going to get everything going. All right. So first off, let's do this. So once again, thank you for tuning in tonight. And I am Andrew Scott. I am an executive coach. I've been doing it for a few years now, and my background is actually in management. Few years in operation and sales management. Um, I was able to have my own location, have a profit center, and with that, I was able to transition into executive coaching, something that I've realized that I love to do. I mean, that's something I love to encourage people. I love to inspire people. I love to, lead. That's something that I love to do because that's really what I love to do is just be able to put a smile on somebody's face, have an impact. Even if before the pandemic, just being able to go out, greet everybody, and just make a difference and smile and make a difference in someone's day. That for sure, that's a joy of mine. That's something that I love to do. So with the first, of course, once again, more than employees, 7 ways to become a successful entrepreneur. And today you will learn successful entrepreneurship, why now is the best time to start a business, specifically an online business, and also how your unique background attracts clients. Because I know a lot of companies or a lot of people say, are you a culture fit? Are you able to fit into our culture? But with that, my thing is, okay, we're all unique. We all are different. There's so much beauty in diversity. There's so much beauty in inclusion and being able to embrace everybody's differences. So I'm going to speak about that. and also how to find your purpose and turn it into profit. So first, I know something that a lot of people are saying is, who is Andrew Scott? Um, who is this guy? Where did he come from? What is he? What makes him? Excuse me. What makes him stand out? What makes him different? So excuse me. I feel like we all have a unique background, a unique story, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are unique. There's nobody like us, and never will be ever again in the universe. That's how I view it. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's something that I have come to embrace about myself is my uniqueness, what makes me distinct, and being able to see that in others. So, who is Andrew Scott? Andrew Scott is a thoughtful leader, an innovator, somebody who's creative, somebody who has a heart for people, being able to connect and network with people. I am a husband. I'm a father. Of course, a son, a friend, and I just enjoy, even though I'm considered quote unquote laid back, easygoing. I'm very, I do have a love or a passion to interact with people, to make a positive impact in people's lives, to see a change, not only in myself, but to see a change out in the world, to see a change in others. And it all started as far as me being an entrepreneur. I didn't even realize, going back when I was younger, I don't even know what triggered it, but it was probably a toy or a game I wanted. And, my mom and my dad, the best, the best parents anybody, could pray and ask for. But, just having that discipline and that certain mentality is like, okay, that's not a need, that's a want. I'm not going, not right now. So I believe I was around 11, 10, 11, or 12, maybe 10 or 11. I I came up with it. I don't even know where it came from, but I basically created my own lemonade stand. I went out down the street. I got all my supplies. I got my table. I got my, of course, I made my quote unquote fresh lemonade, and I made my sign. I was so excited. It was so cool. I mean, I'm getting excited about it now. But and I had my sign, and people were actually, they were driving by because I went down to the corner where the stop sign was with my sign, like, hey, lemonade. I think it was like 25, 50 cents a cup, maybe 50 cents. I'm not sure, but this was a while ago, and I do remember a couple people bought, and a gentleman, an older guy, he bought some from me. He bought a cup of lemonade, and he said, "This is good, but you need ice. You don't have enough ice because it's summer." I was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. In my cricket letter. Um, I was born and raised there, so it's hot. Born in the born and raised in the deep south, and I didn't have the ice, and I thought, man, that was some good. I didn't think about it that time. I didn't realize what it was, but it was constructive criticism. And that's what made, you know, me better, a critique that made me better for my business. And the next time I was able to do it, I believe I was able to get some ice. But yeah, but even with that, even going into adulthood, just to fast forward, um, I've always, as entrepreneurs, you have a different perspective. You have a different viewpoint. You see things differently than other people do, and I feel like I've always been that way. Especially just being in school, I was, I believe I'm intelligent. I'm smart. But in school, I did just enough to get by. Because it just wasn't the things that I was learning, it wasn't that interesting to me because I'm like, how is this going to apply in my everyday life? It doesn't resonate with me like that. And even just thinking about going to, okay, the saying, go to school, get good grades, excel, and go to college. Find out what you want to do. And it was like, okay, I have these ideas, but where, you know, I'm not sure which avenue because they say get a job that makes a lot of money so you can provide for your family, you know. And but then when I started thinking that I wanted to go into physical therapy, physical therapy school, and I started doing like the hours after taking the courses, and I'm like, this is cool, but this isn't exactly what I wanted to do. And I initially started at Mississippi State and wasn't still wasn't that focused as I needed to be. Transferred back home to Jackson, and in between that time or during that time, my firstborn, my first son, he was conceived at that time. So I'm like, okay, this is real. Like this is no more play. I'm an adult. No more playing around. I stopped going to school. I started working. Different jobs, working at a restaurant, dishwasher, um, stocker at retail stores. And I know there was this one opportunity where I thought like, okay, they're going to expand in Memphis, in Jackson, and maybe I could go because I was quote unquote moving up. And boom, that door closed. I was let go. And of course, it was because at that time I wasn't. There were certain things I could have handled differently as far as maturity. And I said, okay, I need to go back to school. And I enrolled into Jackson State University, the I love, HBCU, historically black college university. And that really changed my life. That experience is like any other, and I'm pretty sure other people can attest to that as well, as far as being able to. Oh, Mike Wilson, I see you in marketing. How you doing, sir? From Charlotte, North Carolina. Go Panthers. Um, so then I was able to go to Jackson State. The best experience, being able to have that culture along with that, exceptional education, being able to interact with so many different people from different walks of life, and not only just black people. There were some, quote unquote minorities, white Americans, Indian Americans, Hispanics, and that's where I said, okay, I'm gonna get my degree. I have my credits. Let me go, but I also need money. I need to provide for my son. Um, so I was working at a local hospital, basically cleaning the hospital rooms, transporting the beds, basically a custodian, and working there full time, in school part time, and eventually, thankfully, it switched where I was able to go to school full time, and that sped up the process, work part time. So I know about the grind, I know about the hustle, I know about not getting any sleep, working from four, well, starting out the day, having classes at 8, 9 o'clock until 2 or 3 o'clock, and getting enough time to go home and get something to eat. Sometimes not even going home, just getting something to eat on campus, dressed in my uniform or having it in my car, changing my uniform if I wasn't already in it, going straight to work 4 in the evening to midnight, 12:45, and just that grind, being able to, by God's grace, thankfully, being able to graduate, and be on the dean's list, and being able to, I mean, that is one of the milestones of my life with all that adversity, and graduated, and that was in December, and that January in 2016, and then in January, being able to Long story short, my wife at the time, I mean, my girlfriend at the time, who's not my wife, she moved to Houston and she went to a career fair and like, hey, there's this management trainee opportunity. I think it would be great for you. So I said, okay, let me apply to it. Um, and they listed the choices, your top three desired locations, and of course I put Houston, Texas, and I was able to then, that was in Novemberish, Decemberish, and I got a call in January like, hey, you're accepted in this role, management trainee for a year. I was elated. I was also scared because you know, I've never been outside, lived on my own outside of Mississippi, outside of Jackson, but it was one of the best decisions. And I was able to do the management trainee, so much adversity, and able to learn so much, able to grow so much. And even with that, I was able to, you know, eventually graduate from the program. There were some bumps and, not literally bumps and bruises, but there were some growing pains. And then I was, you know, after I graduated, after a year, I was given the opportunity to run my own location, be the head manager. Everything seemed like it was going great. I was able to, thankfully break records, exceed goals and exceed expectations in sales and revenue, and cut the cost of goods and bring in more profit in my profit center, which hasn't been done before. It was a smaller location, but I was running it myself. And I thought, okay, that's it. Like this is it. But there was still something like missing, especially in that line of business. Um, it was in corrections, but it was a commissary manager. And I knew, even though there was some quote unquote success, there was something in me where I'm like, I felt like a walking, like I was like, there was something in me that was conflicted because I'm seeing people come in and out of, the jail. I'm the manager, but the success of the business is incarcerating people, especially minorities, especially African Americans, Black people, and Hispanic people, Black and Brown people. And long story short, um, and also I was, looking for a raise, a promotion. Okay, if I can get a raise, a promotion or a raise, because that's what they agreed upon once I got my own location. After I did these things, checked them off, broken promises. Like, nah, nah, son, not yet. So I was looking at other places, and eventually the door it it closed, and that's why I say here, thank God for closed doors, not just the open doors. Mr. Daryl King, thank you so much for attending, and absolutely open up your own business after graduation. I salute you, sir. And and then with that, the door was closed on me. It was closed, and I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Um, Thankfully, my wife was working. She had, still has a great job, but it was it was intimidating because I knew I felt that nudge when I was working as a manager. Okay, work on your own business after work. Like, no, like, don't do Netflix, no more Netflix. Do, you know, go and study, write down your business plan, find your niche, find your purpose. You have your 9 to 5, work on your 5 to 9. I was ignoring it. I was disobedient. And I felt like that other closed door led me to this wonderful path of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, and have not had to, not hurting, not lacking, thankfully, thank God. And it's like being able to grow and build my brand and build my business and be able to do something that I love means every like it I it's something that I look forward to every day besides waking up to my wife and my sons. It's something that keeps me up at night when I'm about to go to sleep. I think of ideas like, okay, how else can I impact this person, or how else can I impact other people? And it's something that I love. So one thing that I would say to embrace, especially during this time with the pandemic and what's going on in the economy, embrace and be thankful for your closed doors. And so, my point number one of how to be a successful entrepreneur: forget everything you've been taught, throw it out the window. I know it's extreme, not literally everything, but just forget certain things that's been in, pounded in your mind, or that's been influenced, or that's been predicated upon you by your friends or your family growing up, which is what I referred to earlier, which is go to school, get a good job, work there 30 years, retire, boom. And that's something that I didn't really understand, you know, they would say in grade school, which I'm totally for education, the traditional school system. I'm not against it. I'm not against college. But why go into of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and then work there 30 years with little to no room for growth? And then once you're 60, 65, I'm not knocking anybody, but then the average lifespan now is what, 70, 75, maybe 80, especially, and that's even lower for minorities, black, black people and African Americans, Hispanics, Latinos, like it's lower. So if I'm able to grind and bust my behind, bust my butt, and I can make that target maybe 15 years, maybe 10 years, or 5 years, and have that time of working 30 years for corporate America and waiting on another person, another, an organization, a company to provide me a paycheck, to live paycheck to paycheck, which, which, somebody that I read and watch, Robert Kiyosaki, which he identifies or classifies as the rat race. Um, if I can escape that and bust my behind and learn, and not only be educated through schooling, the traditional schooling in college, but I can be self-educated. I can be self-reliant, and also, and you see the situation now. Um, been waiting on a second stimulus, hasn't happened. So many jobs have been let go. So many people furloughed. You see in the news, and you probably hear the same things in school that you do from your family, which is fine, but not everybody is destined or called to be an employee, which is nothing wrong with it, or be a manager, or a general manager, excuse me, or whatnot for corporate America. Some people are destined, some people are equipped, some people have what it takes in them to be an entrepreneur and a business owner. And so with that, there's so many options out there, especially what's going on in America. Not knowing what's going to happen next, not knowing who's going to be, passing these laws, or stimulus check is coming, or they're going to provide more funding for businesses, small businesses, or whatnot. So that's where it leads me to point number two. You have to transform your mind. Think like an employer, not an employee. Excuse me. And so with that, think like an employer or a business owner, not an employee. Be able to look at certain things, um, as far as budgeting, saving money, which is something that they don't teach you in school. Look at certain things on, cutting your cost, ways to increase sales, ways to increase your revenue, versus as an employee, you're looking to do mundane, repetitive task and, clock in, clock out, right? Versus an employer, they're looking for building a team around them, being able to be a service to other people, to better their community through opening their business. And also look for problems to solve. Be a problem solver. Don't be a problem, like don't contribute to problems. Don't create problems. Solve problems. A lot of people either try to avoid problems, which is wise in everyday life, but in business, you're looking to solve problems. If there's an issue, if there's a problem out there, you want to be able to solve that problem. You want to be able to be an answer to somebody's problem. And also you want to be innovative. You want to embrace your creativity, because I know in school, in grade school, they teach you, or they shun you in a sense for thinking outside of the box. They do not promote that. They do not support that. They do not teach that. And even with a like with my son was like doing some homework when he was here for the summer, and he was having certain problems and certain issues, because like with his problems, because I mean they're always teaching different things as far as different methods or different formulas or different ways to solve problems, especially in mathematics. And it was basically, instead of, I'm guessing this is the thing nowadays, instead of having a vertical um, word problem like 4 times 4 on top of each other, he said that they were required to do it like horizontally, left to right. And I'm like, son, like that's harder. Let me teach you an easy way. And he was like, well, we won't get credit. And I'm like, well, I would like to talk to the teacher, because I feel like as long as you get the answer with integrity, you're not cheating, that should be acceptable. And that's one of many examples where the problems I had in school. I mean, I wasn't a flunker, but I did, like I said, just enough BC average, just enough to get by, because I'm like, why am I only able to solve this problem this way? There's really, in some ways, more than one answer. It's not just this one answer. And a lot of times another example is another way that they stunt your creative process is they kind of also shun you, or it's looked down upon if you get a problem wrong, which discourages you and intimidates you from, because it's like, okay, and I was one of them. I was a victim of that. Like, oh man, the teachers are fussing at me because they're like, Andrew, I already know, like you know the answer. Like why are you not getting this correct? I'm like, man, so I would second guess myself. I would always, well, I would feel like, man, like I got to get this right. I can't mess up. But in life, I mean, that's not real life. In life, you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you develop, is through making mistakes. And so that's where it comes in, where I say Be innovative, be a trailblazer, and also have a mindset of being a producer versus being a consumer. And I know a lot of times, especially, in my opinion, American society, in general, it's been said to, okay, you need to have this certain type of job, and if you make this certain amount of money, you're supposed to drive this car. You're supposed to spend more money than you make, essentially. You're supposed to drive a luxury car. You're supposed to have a big house, 5 bedroom house, but it's only two of you, two or three of you, 6 bedroom house, and it's only two or three of you. And that's a part of the rat race. You're supposed to wear designer clothes. And, but if you look at people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, I think I pronounced it correctly, even Jay-Z, they don't try to look rich or wealthy because they are wealthy. So that's something that America, I feel like, is another way of being stuck in the rat race. Get this job, work for corporate America, 9 to 5, and you're stuck in this tax bracket, and you have all these everything taken out on your taxes, and it's just a rat race. You're living paycheck to paycheck because the peer pressure from mainstream media, wear this, drive this. If you don't, you're not rich, you're not wealthy, you're not successful. So have the mindset of being a producer. I want to produce through my business, through solving problems, through investing in myself and my business, and invest in real estate or invest in the stock market, and have a consistent cash flow, have passive income coming in versus spending it on, I mean, a lot of the things are not even allowed now, but before the pandemic, going out and partying every weekend, eating out every day, driving this expensive car, wearing this and that. And that leads me to point number three. Also, mainstream media promotes fear. The news stations, they promote fear. They promote, um I mean, I've had to stop looking at the news because it's like, as much it's because it's, especially since the pandemic, it's because something else was happening, especially with the social, unrest, or everything going on with, different races, African Americans, the pandemic, the cases rising, not much positive, you know, leadership. But I'm not gonna get political. But so getting back on track, it was just promoting fear, and I was sensing so much anxiety. And I'm like, okay, why am I so anxious? Why am I feeling fear? And it was because of what I was feeding myself, what I was allowing into my eye gate, my ear gate, which was getting into my heart, which was getting into my mind. I was, having it on my mind all the time. And I had to look and be in my confidence and have faith, choose faith instead of fear. I'm not saying, now with that, I'm not saying don't use wisdom. Use wisdom and faith. Faith without works is dead. And I was just, had to train my mind, had to put certain, restrictions on my phone, time limits on certain apps, on news articles, to watch what I was feeding myself. And if you choose faith over fear, because I promise you, if you choose faith, then you're going to see so much more positivity, which is what we need. You're going to see so many better things happening. Faith in, why, faith and wisdom, because it's eventually going to get better. We don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to get better. So keep that in mind, especially not, and also not just in your business, but also day-to-day life is going to get better. Which leads me to point number four. Point number four, you have to carry a crown before you wear one. And basically, what that means is that's actually a paraphrase from one of the books I was reading from Devon Franklin. He's also a man of faith. He's an entrepreneur. He works in Hollywood. He has his own production company now. And he was saying, you know, which firsthand I've realized, okay, in my life, a lot of times we get impatient. We try to avoid the process, um, the growth and development process that it takes to be ready for what we prepare for, what we pray for, what we put in the work for. And a lot of times we don't see it, and a lot of times, the saying, hindsight is 2020. And looking back on it, back then I'm like, okay, I wasn't ready as much as I thought I was. I'm way more ready now, way more ready. And also with that, you have to have a humble servant attitude. You have to have humility. True leadership is having humility, is being humble, promoting somebody else's dream before you can. Now, earlier I did say, you know, for working 30 years, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you know you're called, if you know that you're chosen, your calling is to eventually be an entrepreneur, it's time to eventually step outside of that and to once you're ready, once you're adequately prepared, you have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the experience, it's time to eventually take that leap of faith. But you have to have a humble servant attitude no matter what level you are on. Like I said earlier, when I was working at the hospital, when I was basically a custodian, that taught me humility. That taught me to be the best version of myself during that time, during that season, to prepare me to build my character. And even when I was a manager, certain things I had to learn that humbled me to have a good attitude. Not and also not when everything is going good. When things are also going bad, can you be persistent? Can you be consistent and focused to have a positive attitude, to have good integrity, and to do the right thing even when it's hard? Even when your boss does not like you, even when your employees or the people around you or the people that you supervise are giving you a hard time, will you continue to have that humble attitude? And also, find a reliable mentor. Having a reliable mentor is so important because that's the way that you will grow. That's the way that you will get good advice. That's the way that you will, you know, somebody can hold you accountable. Somebody can check your blind spots because a lot of times we don't see certain things. Whether I mean, sometimes it's not a matter of not being humble enough. Sometimes it's just we just don't see it, and you need that reliable mentor to get their experience and to have someone to call you out respectfully when you're not reaching your potential or you're not being the best person that you can be. And even and also the third one, be faithful where you are now. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I understand. Trust me. I know. But also you have to be able to persevere. There's always a time and a season for everything. There's a time in the season. And even though it's hard and it seems like, wilderness, or it seems like things are going the way that you want it to, trust me, how much you'll be faithful now, your faithfulness now will determine where you'll go if you will receive that promised land, if you will receive that the land and the opportunities and the fruitfulness and the prosperity that you were hoping for, that you were preparing for. And Like I said, be faithful where you are now. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. But if you be persistent, have a good attitude, it is going to work out. So, which leads me to my point number 5. Follow your purpose, not your passion. Your profit will eventually come. There are certain things that are only to, going to happen if you follow your purpose. If you accept that calling, if you accept that, you know, what you're called to be, what you're called to do, then that's when you start seeing things fall in place, even though there might be some adversity. But there are certain things that you will learn and you understand once you know that you're living out your calling. And follow your purpose and not your passion, because there are certain things that you're passionate about, but that's not your purpose. So, for example, I'm passionate about basketball, I'm passionate about sports. However, I didn't make it to the NBA. I'm not good enough to be in the NBA. That's my passion. I still love it. You know, I love my Lakers. Woo woo. Lake Show. I just had to throw that plug in there. And yeah, I love basketball. That's something that I love to do. I'm passionate about. But I know that's not my purpose. My purpose is leadership and executive coaching. That's my purpose. And I know you're wondering, okay, how can I determine how can I determine or find out what my purpose is? And to find out your purpose is basically is what is it that keeps you up at night? Like I said earlier, this is what keeps me up at night. This is something that I love to do. I always think of ideas. I always think of ways to get better, be able to be a better coach, be a better leader, be a better, you know, leader and things of that nature. So that was one way I was able to determine and find out what my purpose is. And also, what is it something that you love so much that you would do for free? This is something that I will do all the time. And I've realized this is something that I've been doing for years because my friends, people that I was, um, close to or had contact with or connections with, they would call me for their advice, whether not just business, but just life, personal life. And I would give them that advice, and they would consistently come back and they would, um, ask for more advice in the future. And and also, what is something where do you see the most impact when you interact with others? That's a way that you can determine your purpose. Where do you see the most impact when you interact with others? I know, and like I said, this is where I was able to um, find out that I was a good coach. I was a good executive coach. Is people interact with me for advice. People come to me to see, to help them out, to give them guidance, to give them assurance, to give them direction, to give them some inspiration. That's what executive coaching is. And that's when I knew, okay, this is my calling. This is my purpose. This is what I am called to do. Which leads me to point number 6. Read, study, and practice. During these past few months, 6 to 8 months, almost a year for me, I have been reading and studying and putting my practice in, putting my work in every day. And even, at night, like, man, I need to learn more about coaching or even about running a business, about entrepreneurship, about being able to run a business. I've been watching webinars, watching master classes, YouTube videos, reading blogs, articles, and books. I've been putting in the work because there's always room to grow. There is always room to get better. And especially if you're in business, because things change. As you see now, the disruption of the pandemic and even artificial intelligence, companies are saving money by implementing artificial intelligence. Um, they're working on self-driving cars, but that's a whole nother discussion. But that's just something to keep in mind is how can I maneuver? How can I pivot? How can I transition? Because a lot of people are transitioning, excuse me, out of certain jobs, out of certain industries, into new industries, into new jobs, into new career fields. And I feel like now is the best time for entrepreneurship. Like I said, practice what you prepare for. Put in those hours, put in that time. You know, the saying is, or the quote unquote wrong saying is, practice makes perfect. Perfect or consistent practice makes perfect. So if you're watching credible sources, reading credible sources, credible books, and webinars, then you will start seeing a change. You will start seeing things grow, and you will get better and have a better impact, more of an impact in yourself in your business. And now take action. You cannot be paralyzed. You cannot be stuck where you are. I mean, I know there's certain things and restrictions and certain limitations, everything that's going on now. And being honest with you, me being transparent, there were times where I would be stuck. I would not take action because I was afraid of putting myself out there. I would be afraid to get on YouTube videos and would be paralyzed and stuck to even think about doing a webinar. But I said, you know what? I have to back to my previous point. Putting in the time, reading, studying, preparing, that will make you more confident. That will make you more prepared, and that will make you less nervous. And with that, that will lead you to take action. Write out your business plan. You have to write down, I'm pretty sure you all know this. Going back to the good book, the Bible, write down your vision, make it plain. Write it down, whether that's on your iPad, whether that's on your iPhone. Sometimes, I mean, I do like technology. Sometimes technology doesn't do it for me. I need to go old school, write down on the pen and paper, write down my steps, write down my goals, write down things that I want to accomplish. And you have to research your niche in your market. Okay, you have to go out there, you have to go on social media, you have to go on LinkedIn, you have to go on Facebook, you have to go on Instagram, you have to go and see what's out there. See see what people are needing, see what people are looking for. Even back to my point earlier, be an answer to somebody's problem. Okay, okay, this person is in my field, this person is in my market, this person is in my niche. Was not comparing yourself, trying to be like somebody else, but I'm like, okay, this necessarily didn't work for this audience. How can I apply my uniqueness and be authentic and provide what they need, provide what they're looking for? And you also have to invest in your business. You have to invest the time. You have to invest in the resources. You have to invest the money in your business. Take action, and I promise you, you will be so glad. You will look forward to. You will be so happy of what you accomplish. Even one little step towards your goals, towards your destiny, will be so much more fulfilling versus being stuck and putting it off until later. I'm gonna do it next week or tomorrow. I'm gonna do it next week. I'm gonna do it next month. And then you look up, it's the next year and you wasted all this time. But if that's the time you feel led to do that, take action. And I promise you, you will be so satisfied. You will feel so relieved, and the sky's the limit. So this is actually the conclusion of my webinar, and I hope you've learned so much. I hope I was able to provide so much information and positive, positive things that you can take and have resonated with you, and you can apply to your everyday life. You can apply to your business. Hopefully, this is some positive leadership. And if so, stay tuned because there are plenty of announcements coming soon. I'm currently working on my 12-week, um, 12-week around that ballpark, but eventually a virtual boot camp where I will have a curriculum and you can sign up for it. And so tune in for that and stay tuned. You can email me, you can contact me at coach@andrewscott.com. Once again, that's coach@andrewscott.com. You can also feel free to text me at 832-387-5956. Follow me on LinkedIn at andrewscott.com. And also, I do not want to leave her out. I do see Miss Real Life Advice with Keish. Shout out to you. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in and everybody who's been able to be engaged on the chat. Daryl, Ms. Keish, Mike Wilson, thank you all so much for participating this evening. And also, if you can, when you can, make sure when you have the opportunity, when you have time, please fill out the survey that I have. The survey, I'm going to type it in the chat and I will provide it for you so that way I can know what to improve on, what to work on in the future. And that way I can sharpen my skills. And once again, thank you so much for taking the time out, an hour out of your busy Thursday to be with me and to engage with me and to get this valuable information. Hopefully, I hope that it's made an impact and it's made a difference in your lives going forward. And I will keep you updated. Once again, follow me, subscribe, like, and subscribe to my YouTube page, Andrew Scott. And you can see at the bottom, you should be able to see the subscribe button and also be able to see my page. Thank you again. God bless. I will catch y'all next time.